welcome to another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I'm Dr. Hernando Carter, board-certified internal medicine physician. Yes, your primary care extraordinaire. And welcome to episode 46 of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. So, if this podcast has blessed you in some way, has helped you and your loved ones in some way, has taught you something new, you know what I need you to do. We need your support. You can support us first and foremost by subscribing to the podcast, liking the podcast, commenting on the podcast, share the podcast and the good news everywhere you go. Hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. If you would like to support our podcast financially, there are several ways you can do so. You can hit us up on the Cash App, $PBL podcast, and we'll get that little change on up out you. No amount is too small or too large. Also, you can become a member of our Patreon community. Just $1 per month supports our podcast. You can sign up by visiting patreon.com/Dr. Hernando Carter. Also, you can become a podcast sponsor. If you have a business, a program, you like recognition, you like a shout out, you can email us at contact@rxforbetterliving.org. That's contact, CONTACT @RX4betterliving.org, and we'll get back to you. Speaking of sponsors, shout out to my man, Cedric Cooper, over at Right On Time Physical Therapy. Holler at Right On Time Physical Therapy. They can take care of all of your physical therapy needs, helping with range of motion, helping with painful joints. Also, they can work with you to develop a tailored workout plan so that you can work out safely without injuring yourself. Hit them up. RightOnTimePT.com. They're right over there, Avenue D in Ansley at the Ansley Health Club, 2000 Avenue D. Tell them your boy Hernando and the Prescription for Better Living podcast sent you. Shout out to Bespoke Wellness. Bespoke Wellness has all of your concierge primary care needs, weight loss needs, IV fluid hydration therapy. Give them a call, 205-396-2820 to schedule your appointment today. Shout out to drhernandocarter.com. Listen, all things Dr. Hernando Carter. We got the merch for sale for you there. If you're looking for a speaker for your event or for your organization, you can reach out to us there and we'll connect with you. So, episode 46. This is Heavy Topics Part 5. And you know what Heavy Topics is all about. We are getting into all things related to weight loss, etc. And we started on our last episode talking about lifestyle as a treatment for obesity. So if you missed episode 45, that's okay. You can go back, check it out, watch, listen as many times as your heart desires, okay? But broadly speaking, we started introducing the topic of treatment, and at the core of any treatment, especially if the treatment is going to be successful and is going to be long-lasting, has to be lifestyle changes. We talked about lifestyle changes, and we said a few things. We said first, lifestyle modification is not a diet, okay? It's not a fad. It's not a fast. It's not a cleanse. Lifestyle changes, modifications are meant to be long-lasting, okay? And a surefire way to guarantee your failure when you're trying to lose weight is by making drastic changes suddenly, all right? And typically, the more drastic the changes, the more sudden the changes, the harder it is to maintain. For example, let's say that you are going to drastically change your diet, and you say that you're going to get rid of all meat, all carbs, and you're going to eat lettuce every day, all day, and that's it. Now, your results may be fast. You may lose 50 pounds in a very short period of time. But what are the odds of you continuing such a diet for a longer period of time? So what will happen is that you'll do it for a short period of time, but eventually you'll go back and revert to eating some of the same things that you ate before. And then what happens? The weight comes back. And that's how you get into the yo-yo effect, right? So what we said makes more sense is to make small changes gradually so that your likelihood of maintaining those changes increases. And you don't get into this yo-yo, right? You can do something that's longer lasting, okay? So that's just a highlight of what we got into when we're talking about lifestyle modifications. So the other component of treatment, and remember now we talked about lifestyle changes as the first topic under treatment, okay? So again, at the foundation of every successful treatment plan should be positive adjustments to your lifestyle. And that includes the way that we approach food, what we consume and how we consume food, our physical activity, right? Increase in our physical activity. And the same thing with increase in physical activity. You don't have to make drastic changes or do drastic things, right? You can make small incremental changes. Start by parking further away from the door when you go to the store. Start by taking the steps instead of the elevator. Start by getting a stand-up desk at work so you can spend more time standing than sitting. Start by doing those things. If you've been sedentary and you've not been very active, instead of trying to, jog or walk for an hour a day, start with 10 minutes a day. And then as that becomes easier, add another 5. But the key to all of this is consistency, okay? Because you want to be able to maintain what you're doing. All right. So heavy topics part 5, we're going to get into medications. So I'm going to make a few broad statements about medications in general as it relates to the treatment of obesity. All right. Statement number 1 is that medications are helpful. Number 2, medications are useful. Number 3, medications as it relates to the treatment of obesity are often indicated. It's appropriate to use them, is what medications being indicated means. Number 4, statement number 4, medications are underutilized. That means we don't use medications enough for the treatment of obesity. Why do you say that, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. Remember what we said about obesity, right? And that is obesity is a medical condition. It is a medical diagnosis. Remember, we said that in earlier episodes. Also, obesity is a chronic medical condition. What is a chronic medical condition, Hernando, and why did you take the time to highlight that? I'm glad you asked. A chronic medical condition is similar to diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, high cholesterol. It is a medical condition that can be with us for a prolonged period of time. It's treatable. It's curable. But if you don't modify the risk factors, it can recur. It can recur. Think about high blood pressure. If you did everything that you could to normalize your blood pressure, you reduced the salt in your diet, you increased your water intake, you increased your fruit and vegetable intake, you exercise regularly, and then you started taking blood pressure medication, and your blood pressure normalized, so it went from being high to normal. That's successful treatment. But what happens if you stop taking the blood pressure medication and you stop reducing the salt in your diet and you stop drinking your water and exercising? What do you think is going to happen to your blood pressure? It's going to rise again. And many times when it comes to all chronic medical conditions, people look at the goal of success being getting off medication. In other words, people say, I know I'm doing better and I know I'm doing well when I can stop taking these medications. And that's the wrong goal to have. The goal should be to improve and normalize whatever that condition is so that you can avoid the long-term consequences, the long-term effects of whatever that condition is. Case in point, high blood pressure. If you have uncontrolled high blood pressure for many years, then the long-term consequences of that could be a stroke, could be a heart attack, could be heart failure, could be kidney failure and dialysis. Whereas if you get that blood pressure reduced and get it normalized, your risk of stroke, heart attack, heart failure, kidney failure reduce substantially. If you're diabetic, and if the goal is to have a normal blood sugar, then down the road, you're preventing the long-term consequences of uncontrolled blood sugar, loss of limbs, getting toes cut off, blindness, kidney failure, neuropathy, on and on and on. So what I'm saying to you, and the case that I'm building, is that when it comes to obesity and your weight loss journey, okay, we're not just chasing a weight or a dress size or a pant size. We're chasing the result of reducing long-term risks and effects associated with obesity, right? And so whatever that treatment is, right, is not the measure of success. The measure of success is, again, having maintained success and long-term reduction of your risk. Okay? So, again, the treatment of obesity requires maintenance. And if you don't have this in your mind, you can be very successful for a while with weight loss. But if you don't do the things that got you to the point of success, if you don't continue to do them, then you won't be able to maintain that success, if that makes sense. Think about individuals who've had weight loss surgery. And we've seen individuals, all of us now, who lose a lot of weight after the weight loss surgery, good. And they maintain it for a while, but then they start to slip. And before long, they've gained all the weight back. Well, how is that possible? Because it's the philosophy, it's the mindset, right? It's the mindset. Because success is not found just in the surgery alone. Success is found and success is maintained by being able to stay consistent with the things that got you there. So that if you lose all that weight, but then you stop exercising and you stop adhering to a sensible diet, then what's going to happen? Same thing going to happen if you stop taking your blood pressure medication and you stop exercising. If you have a diagnosis of high blood pressure, it's going to return. Okay? So let's get into medications a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, we will not cover the entire topic of medications in just this one episode. Okay? It deserves more than that. So today we're going to focus on some medications and we'll get to other medications and treatment modalities in future episodes. So broadly speaking, as it relates to medications, broadly speaking, you have oral medications or pills, and you have injectables, medications that you inject and give yourself a shot. Okay? So let's talk about the oral medications. And there's a bunch of them. I'll list out some of the more common ones that we use, and we'll get into those. But you have phentermine. We've heard of phentermine. Some of you may not know as phentermine. You may know it as Adipex. You may have heard of Qsymia, Qsymia, Orlistat, Contrave, Metformin. Did you know that metformin is sometimes used for weight loss? Oh, absolutely, and we'll get into that because you thought it was just a diabetes medication. Okay, so let's talk about phentermine, or brand name Adipex P. So phentermine is a weight loss medication. It is what we call an appetite suppressant. So an appetite suppressant is that you take it, all right? And when you take it, it tells your body that you don't feel hungry. And so you eat less. So this is a pill, medication, appetite suppressant, also classified as a stimulant. And it's the stimulant effect of the Adipex or phentermine that actually cuts your appetite. You've heard of people who take medications for attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADD or ADHD. They take Adderall is one of the more common ones, or Ritalin. And one of the side effects that they tell you about when you take ADD or ADHD medication is that you have weight loss. Well, why, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. Because stimulants suppress your appetite, makes you eat less. So Adipex. These medications are typically taken daily, once a day, and they are considered controlled substances. And that simply means that the provider who's prescribing them has to have a license to prescribe controlled substances by the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. So it's monitored closely because there is abuse potential with stimulants. Okay? But Phenermin, Adipex. Now, potential side effects are, again, weight loss, duh. Elevated blood pressure. So you have to watch your blood pressure closely. But that's not as common as people think. There's actually an antidepressant that people take that studies show can elevate the blood pressure more than Adipex can. Okay? So that's one medication. Also, have you heard of the medication topiramate? Brand name of that is Topamax. So topiramate is an anti-seizure drug, anti-epileptic. But as in medicine, one medication can have many, many other uses, right? So you have the thing that is most commonly used for, but then you have the thing that it can also be used for, even what we call like off-label. I'll give you a good example. The blue pill, hallelujah. Thank Lord for the blue pill. Viagra, generic name sildenafil. Did you know that it was not originally created to help men in the bedroom? Oh no. It was made to treat pulmonary hypertension. It's a lung condition and heart condition. And sildenafil is what we call a vasodilator. So it opens up blood vessels and allows more blood flow. And it can lower the pressure in the lungs and in the heart. Well, when they were doing the studies for sildenafil in men, they noted an interesting side effect, that men who took sildenafil often got erections. Even men who had in the past had challenges getting erections, okay? And they said, oh, we got a whole new reason that we can prescribe this medicine and we can make a whole lot more money. And we made a lot of men happy, but more than that, you made a lot of women happy too and saved a lot of marriages. So thank you, sildenafil and Viagra. But so topiramate, I digress. Let me get back on it. Topiramate, Topamax, anti-seizure drug, can also be used for weight loss. Now, there is a medication called Qsymia. We mentioned that, Qsymia. And this is a medicine, a pill that has two medications combined into one. It has the Phenermin or Adipex plus the topiramate, okay? Topiramate has a side effect of some people of, again, what? Cutting their appetite, okay? So it's like how we talked about some medications can have multiple indications or multiple uses. All right. Next is Orlistat, Orlistat. And this is a nasty, I hate this medicine, it's nasty. So Orlistat is a weight loss medicine. And the way Orlistat works is it blocks fat from being absorbed in your gut. So if you eat like a lot of fatty foods, fried foods, that kind of stuff, it's going to block your gut from absorbing that. And where's it going to go, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. It's got to go out. You poop it out. Well, some people have a hard time with orlistat because they don't realize how much fat is in the diet. And so then they can have loose stool, oily diarrhea, and that oil get all, it just leaks. I've heard patients describe you just leaking oil. So it's not one of the more pleasant weight loss medicines, but it's there. Also, Contrave. Contrave is another combination medication. And Contrave has naloxone, which naloxone is a similar medication to like Narcan, that when people have overdoses and can, help reverse overdoses. When naloxone can, again, cut the appetite. And it has also Wellbutrin or bupropion, which is an antidepressant that also cuts the appetite. So we've had phentermine, which is also known as Adipex. We've had topiramate, which is also known as Topamax. Qsymia, which is a combination of phentermine and topiramate. Orlistat, we talked about that. Contrave. And then I mentioned before metformin. Now, metformin is most commonly known as a medication used to treat diabetes. But metformin can cut people's appetite as well. And is very helpful in those people, especially who are pre-diabetic or what we call borderline diabetic, can help reduce the blood sugar and get them out of the pre-diabetic range, but it can also help promote some weight loss. People who have what we call metabolic syndrome, so they have obesity, central obesity. They also have elevated blood sugar, elevated cholesterol. That's a state of what we call insulin resistance. Metformin can improve that and lower that insulin resistance, improve blood sugar, and bring down weight. So these are some of the oral medications that can be used. And I'm not trying to take you to medical school or anything by listing all these medications. I'm just trying to get you to realize that there are tools in the tool bag that can be used either individually or in combination to help treat obesity. Again, letting you know that there is hope. There is help. But we have to view this as a chronic medical condition. And in future episodes, we're going to get into injectables, and then we're going to talk about procedures for weight loss, because all of these are tools in the tool bag that I believe my audience deserves to be made aware of. So this has been another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I am and shall remain Dr. Hernando Carter, board-certified internal medicine physician, your primary care extraordinaire, saying, wherever you go, whatever you do, stand on the tallest mountaintop you can and scream from the top of your lungs, hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. Until next time, Dr. Carter saying, I love you. Peace out.